So is that's for me, isn't it?
Nimu, please start.
Okay. That's not me.
Nemo, you are muted.
Nemo, you can start. Ruth, perhaps you can start.
Hello, everyone, and my name is Ruth Washuka from Kenya. I am a member of Kenya Society of Caregivers, which is a network for young people who left institutions. And we are so excited to be gathering here today. Of course, we have had 2 lovely and powerful 2 days of this convention, and we have had our brothers and sisters from all parts of the world speak up. And I am so most excited about this. So the 2 days we have had are loud and clear that what caregivers want, and one of those is that they want to be included, they want to be heard, and they want to be included not just in some of these things, but even at their policy level. We also were and got to listen to them say there's a gap between policy and practice, and they want to just see that they are part of both of these. And so it's such a great honor that we stand together. We bring practitioners, we bring researchers, decision makers, funders. And all we need to do is that we bring all these people together for the best things for our caregivers. So my co-host today is Nemo. I know she'll be joining shortly. She'll be able to speak to us. But just to ask if she's able to introduce herself before we delve into today's business, which I know you're all excited about. One of the things that I'm so happy about is just seeing different faces, people from different nationalities. And it just reminds me that it's a global issue, but there's also a global commitment to see that we are doing the best for caregivers. So I'm just going to bring over my co-host, Nemo, to say something to us and just allow us to go to the next session. Is Nemo there?
Ruth, may I request you to...
The challenges that with everyone, and I know one of the things that we've been talking about is the new normal that comes with the pandemic. And we can all agree that we have had hitches here and there, with technology, getting to know how to maneuver around. So we are just extending some grace to her as she tries to log in back. But one of the things I just want us to be thinking about is the things that really stood out for you within those 2 days. I know there are people who are like, I can't believe that this is coming to an end, but I also can't wait to see what are key takeaways for this. And so today's session is on knowing about what is really being done out there in the world by other people for the sake of caregivers. There's what the caregivers are doing. There's what Kenya Society of Caregivers has been doing for the last 11 years. There's what other networks of caregivers are doing and individual caregivers. But also let us acknowledge that there are equally other people who are very concerned. The organizations and experts around the world that are really concerned about the welfare of young people living care. And so today's session is just to understand exactly what is being done for caregivers and us. When I say us, of course, identify myself as a young person who's left care. What is that one thing that people are doing together? So we're going to hear from practitioners from different countries, and then a panel of young caregivers who are going to also tell us what it means to them, and all of us are going to come together in this session to present our collective voice. So our agenda for 2022 might be set from today, because once we get to hear from these we are of course not stopping at 2020, but we know we want to run till 2022 and just have the things moving. So I just want to begin with the first technical session for today, and this session will bring us to sharing some of the good practices on living care. Everyone has talked about how, caregivers will tell you how they left care. This is what was done for me. This is the good practice. This is what I loved. Others will tell you, I didn't love the way I exited care. And so today we just want to listen to one of wonderful people who are going to just tell us, to share with us on the good practices. What is it that when we look at, we are able to say, this is a good practice on living care. So we have India, Jordan, Australia, Germany, and international practitioners at this session that is going to be moderated by Anna, who is a psychologist, a researcher, and a board member of FICE Switzerland. So I'm just gonna bring you over. Please take us through this and just let us hear from you and the expertise on this area. Karibu sana to mean welcome so much in Swahili.
Thank you very much, dear Ruth. Guten Morgen, I would say in Swiss German, because it's morning here. Good morning. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session called Good Practices in Supporting Care Leavers, Global, Regional, and National Commitments. The question, of course, is what is a good practice in supporting care leavers? Is it perhaps a practice that did not start on the 18th birthday, but when the young person first came into care? Or is it a practice that was developed together with young people leaving care? Or is it something altogether different? In this session now, 6 experienced and engaged experts from both practice organizations and academic organizations will share with you practices they consider to be good. In the following session, moderated by my friend Maximilian, experts who themselves have experienced alternative care will discuss what they want as good practice. Certainly, practice will be best when all the different actors bring their experience, their engagement, their knowledge, their critical thought, and their joy in creating something good together. And I'm very happy that this convention plays an important role towards this goal. I'm now happy to introduce to you the contributors of this session in order of their presentations. And I would ask, after I've introduced each person, please say hello and wave so that everybody can see you on the screen. This only happens if they can hear you also. So first of all, a warm welcome to Dr. Aida Essaid and Dr. Rawan Ibrahim in Lebanon. Dr. Aida Essaid is the director of the Information and Research Center at the King Hussein Foundation. The foundation's aim is to mobilize data for positive social change with a focus on human rights issues, gender, social justice, and civil society empowerment. Aida received her bachelor's degree from the University of Toronto, where she double majored in political science and Near and Middle Eastern civilizations, and a master's in Middle East politics and PhD in politics from the University of Exeter. So welcome, Aida. Can you say hello and wave?
Hi, good morning. Thank you.
This is
Thank you
Aida.
for the introduction.
Thank you, Aida. Then
Can
we
I
have.
just say that we're in Jordan, not Lebanon.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
That's all right.
No.
Okay.
Very, very sorry. It's something totally different. Okay. How embarrassing. So in Jordan. And Dr. Rawan Ibrahim, that is Aida's colleague. She is an assistant professor at the Department of Social Work at the German Jordanian University. Her specialization lies in child protection and alternative care. Her career began as a practitioner in a residential facility for severely abused children. After completing her PhD, that examined experiences of Jordanian care leavers. Dr. Ibrahim was director of the UNICEF-funded program that supported the Jordanian government to deinstitutionalize children and establish foster care in Jordan. Rawan continues to consult for UNICEF. Her interests include preparation and post-care support of youth transitioning from substitute care to adulthood and implementation science. She has been part of INRTAC since 2006. Hello, Rawan.
Hi, sorry about that.
So, hello. Now we go to the person who will present second, that is Anisha. We go to India. Anisha Wadhwa is the Executive Director of Udayan Care India, an alternative care and higher education focused non-profit, the organizers of this convention. She's passionate about the development of models of care for young adults leaving childcare institutions and has for the last 16 years been a mentor to children and young adults growing up at Udayan Care. She's a Chevening Fellow from the University of Oxford, and today she will be sharing the Udayan Care model on commitments to care leavers.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Anisha. Gabriela Rask is the next person we go to. She's in Austria and active internationally. She's a project coordinator in the Youth and ICT4D team at SOS Children's Villages International. For the past 4 years, she has been working on the cross-national EU co-funded projects, training professionals working with children in care, prepare for leaving care and leaving care. She also coordinates the work of SOS Children's Villages International Youth Coalition, which is the highest body in the federation representing young people. Hello, Gabriela.
Hi, thank you so much.
We go on not very far from Austria to Germany, where we have Matthias Hild. He is the program manager at Bridgestone's Brückensteine in Germany. It's a collective impact initiative of several projects and organizations in Germany. Matthias has a focus on using digital approaches to prevent increasing digital disadvantages. He will share insights of their digitalization project and the crucial role and involvement of care leavers in it. Prior to Brückensteine, Matthias was project lead at the Foundation of German Economy, one of the largest educational institutions in Germany. Hello, Matthias.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
And last but not least, a big jump from Germany to Australia. Welcome, Susan Barton. Susan is a revolutionary Australian leader in the area of youth and homelessness and the founder and director of the Lighthouse Foundation for Homeless Young People. She has co-authored 2 books, Build Your Teenager's Self-Esteem and Therapeutic Residential Care for Children, an Attachment and Trauma-Informed Model for Practice. She has been inducted as a member of the Order of Australia in 2002 and into the Victorian Honour Roll of Women. Susan was recognised by the Australian Financial Review and Westpac as one of Australia's 100 women of influence. Hello, Susan.
Hi, and I promise I didn't write that about myself.
Okay. So now you've heard a little bit about each person. We will start with the first presentation by Dr. Aidan, Dr. Rawan from Jordania.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then. Second.
Are we there?
Okay. Just start my timer. Thank you, and thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here today. We're going to be talking about, Dr. Dawan and I, how working on developing support for care leavers in Jordan. And so to do that, just to give you an idea, this was a project that the Information and Research Center, which is part of the NGO, the King Hussein Foundation, based in Jordan, did base with the support of a grant from FHI 360 and USAID. It's called a Democracy and Governance grant. And the objective of the grant was to identify, the different forms of discrimination faced by youth deprived of family ties in Jordan, as well as to create a network of civil society organizations who provide services for all care leavers, and to try to reduce the stigma and discrimination that youth deprived of family ties face by raising awareness about their different types of rights. So just about the project, it was, really over the course of, almost 4 years, where it began with research, because really everything we do at the Information Research Center begins with research, and then based on the results, awareness and advocacy as needed, and wherever possible, using participatory action research, peer research. And in this project, peer research was one component. So we did but let me take one step back actually and say, where did one of the the issues for this come from? It was from the Convention for the Rights of the Child at the UN committee in the review of Jordan, where they kept telling the Jordanian government, please stop using terminology such as illegitimate and of unknown origin, and so on and so forth, and instead use born out of wedlock. And in the Jordanian context, that's just as discriminatory. So doing a review of the literature, a social stigma survey to see the perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors of society, and most importantly, training 12 youth to be the researchers and to carry out the research with 40 of their peers. And in addition to, of course, the technical expertise of Dr. Dawan, we also were working directly with the civil society organization for youth deprived of family ties, which is Sakina. And then based on that research, all of the research triangulated using social identity theory, where we found that in the end, in order to reduce the stigma, we need to change the perception which is tied to the name. Instead of the derogatory terms that we hear in Arabic of unknown origin and illegitimate and foundling, we found that as long as they're being raised in care centers with orphans and in Arab, Jordanian society, Muslim culture, orphans are a social responsibility. So the youth themselves said, if you're going to call us something, call us orphans. You're raising us with orphans anyways. But if you need to subclassify us, then refer to us as youth deprived of family ties. It's a lot more dignified than of unknown origin or even born out of wedlock, which, as I said, is discriminatory in Jordan. So now in the next review of Jordan by the CRC, which is taking place next year, we'll be putting in our shadow report that this is the term that the youth themselves prefer and that society doesn't discriminate against. And Dr. Dawan is going to tell you more about the other outcomes of the project, but just to let you know that we produced a care leavers kit, which, based on what the care leavers also informed us, information they needed to know when they left care centers, has, the different themes over there, but also little quotes of tips, of advice from, each other to one another. And there's also a digital campaign via this website called The Beginning, Al-Bidaya, which has all of this information for those who want more awareness, as well as for the care leavers to be able to find this kit.
Okay, so I'll take over from here. Thank you, Aida. يعطيك العافية.
Thank you. Allah
All right. So another part of this, another really important part of this project was the development of a network, a coordinated network that was really developed to support young people during their transitions once they directly from transitioning from residential care and beyond. They didn't have to, the process did not necessarily have to start when they were still in care. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so we just wanted to share a few of the main steps, basically, of how we developed the network. The network was developed using a bottom-up approach. What was first done is a peer research resource mapping exercise was conducted with the young people themselves to identify where they get support from, particularly where they get support from any formal institutions, because NGOs at that time were still budding. There was an increase of awareness about the plight of care leavers. So a number of NGOs were either focused on care leavers or started increasingly including care leavers as part of their target population. So after we conducted that mapping exercise with the young people themselves, this was then followed up with the identified civil society organizations. We also wanted to make sure that we really covered all of the bases for the young people. So we followed that up also by developing a matrix of the available services, and then of course any additional needs that perhaps they may not have thought of because they weren't at that, let's say, developmental age. So one such need was reproductive health. We then brought together all of the organizations who offer these services to the target population. And we explained basically what the network was supposed to do, which is to provide support that is otherwise not really coordinated and available to those young people. And then this was followed up with developing pathway planning and the referral mechanism system. But it's important to point out here that the whole process and the pathway planning was continuously verified by the young people, especially its content and the steps. And then of course, legal documents were developed to try and formalize the network. So next one, Aida, thank you. So I'm not going to get into those because of time, but these are basically all of the services that the NGOs provide. So they range from health to legal aid and so on. Okay, this is the list of the members of the network. And this was basically when we launched it. Next slide, Aida. Okay, so I just want to, as a final slide, just share the main challenges. Unfortunately, although we do believe that the network is absolutely crucial, and we have established a pretty solid foundation, we are still going through some challenges. There's no government policy to support the network. This, of course, is affecting the commitment of the members and the consistency in the actual implementation of the referral mechanism. So they provide services, but they're not following the referral pathways that we developed. The leading NGO that's supposed to initiate and coordinate pathway planning is also struggling with financial stability. And it's also paper-based. It needs to be web-based, and this, of course, requires funding. And then we also have some additional references. If anyone is interested, we'll share that with you, and I'll end here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, including for the excellent timekeeping. I would like to remind the audience that you have the opportunity to send questions to all of the people in this event. and that you will get replies to them. So if you're curious to know more, please get in touch. We now go to the presentation by Anisha Wadhwa.
Thank you, Dr. Anna. Aviral, may I ask you to share my slide, please? Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Don't play, please. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's amazing to me when I hear our colleagues across the waters, across the sands, and across the world, and how similar, whether it is our care leavers or whether it is our practitioners or our researchers, and yet all of us are heading the same way, and all of us are facing so many of the same challenges. I would like to talk with you for the next 5 minutes a little bit about Udayan Care. We are part of the organizing committee of this convention, but most importantly, we are practitioners at the soul of Udayan Care. When I say practitioners, 26 years of youth and child support through a rapidly changing regulatory ecosystem. Udayan Care has been caring for children across the northern part of India for the last 26 years. And our aftercare model has developed as we have seen the children grow in front of our eyes. We have a model that is called mentoring. It is absolutely, as I've mentioned here, in the continuum of care. As children grow up, as Dr. Anna mentioned, when does care really start? When does aftercare start? When you turn 18, or as you are growing up, when you come into care in the first place? That has been Udayan Care's total and absolute commitment, the continuum of care brought about by the power of mentorship. Our aftercare model is focused on mentoring until there are mentor fathers and mentor mothers, civil society members who bring stability and continuity to the children who are growing up in care. But as we brought our children up, as we saw our children grow into young people, adjusting into life and reintegrating into society, we wondered about the 9,500 childcare institutions and the 370,000 children in care across India. And we had no more data. So as Dr. Ida said, what we needed was research. What we needed was to listen to our care leavers who were growing up out of care. And so the Beyond 18 study was conceived with care leavers. What did they want us to know? What was it in these 5 states and the 500 youth and those that cared for care leavers saying to us? How did we fund this? We reached out to UNICEF and we reached out to India's largest philanthropy. And soon, when we came about a model, this wasn't about us. It was created by the care leavers. May I please ask you to play the video, Aviral? And so I saw the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle in Dr. Rawan's presentation. And so I see and I share that it is a care leaver who put these pieces together. These are what are so interconnected. This is what makes practice plus data move towards what we call collectivization. We have heard from Ruth what a powerful part of the Kenya Care Leavers Network she is. We're trying to do what you're doing, Ruth. We're trying to grow and we're trying to be a part as what we call SILK, support for youth leaving care. We're there at the back, but it is the voices of care leavers that led us to these 8 domains and for us to begin our aftercare outreach program, Beyond Udayan Care, where we reached out to civil society as mentors, but equally importantly, as investors in the youth that have been growing up in care and are now transiting out of care. And yet, the concept of aftercare is something that is so new to India as a country that we must go back and start right from the beginning in terms of awareness building, to look at aftercare as a right, to look at the guidelines of aftercare that do exist in law in some states, but so much more to be done in others. In India, it's interesting to share that we have the most wonderfully crafted laws. It is their implementation that has become our life's work. However, in the last 1 year, I can't believe I'm saying that. Yes, it has been almost 9 months. that the COVID-19 pandemic has upended our work, our lives, and indeed the lives of those that we have been caring for and working with for so long. We have had to work completely and pivot our interventions towards temporary shelter, as well as giving care and support to those caregivers that have lost livelihoods, that have lost dignity, and indeed have lost their housing. This is what we do on the ground. But where the groundswell is built is the National Alliance, the National Alliance that is seeking a government response to all of the COVID needs that we've been hearing about the last 2 days as we've listened to our care leavers. I would like to end on the thematic of what we're talking about by just saying one thing. We do not do for aftercare youth. We do with care leavers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anisha. We jump back to Europe, but to somebody who is active internationally, to Gabriela Rask and her presentation.
Thank you so much, Anna. I hope you can see my screen. Thank you so much, and huge congrats to the organizers directly involved in this great convention. And also thank you, Ruth and Nimu, for hosting us today. So last year, during our regional Leaving Care Consultative Forum in Nairobi, I had the pleasure of meeting Gift Sorai, who's the founder of the Zimbabwe Care Leavers Network. And I think many of you heard him speaking yesterday. And one of the things he said that continues to echo strongly in my mind is, we do not need handouts, we need hand-ups. So how does SOS Children's Villages empower and support young people in care, as well as those who have already left care, to become their strongest selves? This is the question I'm going to try and answer in these next few minutes. So as you might already know, SOS Children's Villages works with children and young people in alternative care or at risk of losing parental care in 136 countries and territories. We support young people in care and transitioning out of care. And we do this by partnering with every young person to ensure a holistic preparation process towards independent life. Together with young people, we identify and build positive relationships and partnerships. And finally, young people who have grown up in alternative care are eligible for aftercare support. Now, let's have a look at some of our global projects. So first we have Youth Power, which is a program for young change makers. It offers young people the opportunity to showcase their work, receive training, tools, and funding to help scale their initiatives to drive change for a better world. We also have Youth Can, which is a global multi-stakeholder partnership that empowers young people to become self-reliant and successfully transition from school to work. It combines mentoring, first work experience, and soft and technical skills into one comprehensive approach. Then we have the Prepare for Leaving Care training, which was co-developed in the frame of EU co-funded projects together with CELSIS and 11 national partners. The training builds the capacity of care professionals to best support children and young people for leaving care. Now, the truly innovative part of this training is that young people with care experience co-deliver it. And finally, we move to our digital platform, YouthLinks, which is supporting a number of SOS employability programs. It leverages the power of technology to support more young people towards employability by providing virtual training and mentorship opportunities for young people, no matter where they live. And I really want to note here that all these projects are locally contextualized and also tailored to the needs of young people. Now, let's have a look at some national good practices. So first, let's go to SOS Children's Villages Sri Lanka, where we see good support of care leavers networks. The 18+ Alliance is an independent coalition comprised of civil society and corporate sector partners to build support for systems, support systems for youth leaving care. This was initiated and is coordinated by SOS Sri Lanka since 2017. There's also the Generation Never Give Up Network, which is the first care leavers network in Asia for peer support and self-advocacy. And it has now reached 200 members. And then we have SOS Children's Villages Croatia with a leaving care support expert. Now, this person empowers young people on their path to independent life. The expert participates in the planning of leaving care together with a young person and youth educators, and also continues to support this young person after leaving care, thereby providing this valuable support in one of the most crucial phases of these young people's lives. And then let's move to SOS Children's Villages Belarus, where we have Yazam, which is a youth-friendly online application supporting youth on their transition to independent living. The app includes 10 topics with 80 informative articles and 45 practical examples. Now, if you haven't yet checked out the video about this app, then I strongly recommend you to go to the Resource Center in the next break and check it out. And finally, we move to SOS Children's Villages Ethiopia, where we want to highlight the importance of continuous, strong, and healthy emotional bonds between care leavers and caregivers. So here, young people who have transitioned to independence, they keep close relationships with their caregivers. They specifically enjoy celebrating family birthdays, weddings, national holidays, and graduations together. This, I have to say, is a common practice in all our programs around the world, but it must not be overlooked as these relationships of love and support are key for a successful transition. So in conclusion, nothing for young people without young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriela.
Thank you.
And we go on to Matthias from Brückensteine and his presentation.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning again. Thank you very much for the invitation. And of course, thank you for the chance to share what we do. To say it up front, please contact us if you are interested in sharing discussions afterwards. But now let's start. I'd like to start with a simple invitation of Simon Sinek. He says, always ask why. So why does Brückensteine Care Leaver exist? Because being independent does not mean being left alone. As simple as that. And we all know too often care leavers are left alone after their time in youth care. Therefore, thanks to the initiative of Drosos Foundation, in 2019, we joined forces and started Brückensteine Care Leaver. Stones of the bridge for care leavers is Brückensteine. And together we explore new approaches and innovative perspectives. At Brückensteine, I'm part of a larger community, as you can see on the photo. It shows all our practitioners and 4 care leavers at our summer meeting in Berlin. And by the way, today I speak on behalf of this group and all involved of our initiative. Our work is based on the principles of a collective impact initiative. They are our baseline, and together we are committed to these high fives. As you can see on the right, one of our high fives is to bring care leavers to all levels of participation. So participation is a central pillar of Brückensteine. That means that we always start with the question of how care leavers can be engaged and involved in our projects. How do we manage to empower them to have a say? On the right, you can see some results and levels of participation. For example, we set up a steering group with 3 care leavers as elected members, and they have a say in strategic decisions. Okay, let's zoom into a concrete example. One of our umbrella projects is the development of a digital platform, literally from the scratch. That project is, in our opinion, a very good example as we pilot innovative approaches in order to enable the beneficiaries who will use the platform in the future. And how do we do that? Maybe you know that very often projects and services are developed without the participation of the target group. They have to use something where they haven't been part of the creation. The problem with that process is, in the worst case, the services does not respond to their behavior. It does not respond to their needs and communication behavior. They won't use that service, so it solves no problem. And we want to change that. Therefore, we thought outside the box. For example, we work with a team of digital experts. We involve care leavers, and we invited the Care Leaver e.V. to take part. And we combine user-centric design with our principle of experts by experience. The result is the group which you can see on the photo, consisting of care leavers, digital experts, and that group regularly meets since January and is involved in every step of the design process. A second example is our iterative app testing. Testing means care leavers try out what we build in the ongoing process every 2 weeks. They are behind the scenes and an active part of the process. On the right, you can see one of our digital experts, Nono, in a testing with the care leaver. And at least we plan to have 45 to 50 of these meetings until March or April next year. And on the left, you can see all the feedback we collect. All the feedback care leavers give us will be translated into product changes. For example, a green post-it means we did a good job. A red post-it means we have to change something. For care leavers, this is pure impact. To sum up, at Brückensteine Care Leaver, we try to create an environment for care leavers of direct participation, a personal feeling of having an impact, being part of something new, and developing ownership. That's it. As I mentioned, please contact us. We are very happy about any collaboration, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matthias. And now we take, I think, our largest geographical jump, and we go to Susan in Australia. Please, Susan.
Thank you. Well, it's such an honour to be amongst you all today. So let me begin with an overview of our work at Lighthouse in Australia. We've had over 30 years of developing a solution to youth homelessness, and over 1,000 babies, children and young people have lived in our homes and permanently ended their homelessness. Most of these young people have been in our child protection system. Young people aged 14 and 22 can join our adolescent program for the older kids, and they live in one of our homes with usually 3 other young people and 2 constant live-in carers. And by the way, we receive no recurrent government funding. It's hard to say in 5 minutes all the body of work, but I co-founded a book, as Anna said, on our practice, providing a comprehensive and clear account of our theoretical based model of care, whilst bringing this to life with real life stories of our young people and their carers. And it's called Therapeutic Residential Care for Children and Young People, an attached and trauma-informed model for practice. It provides anyone caring for traumatised children and young people in a residential setting with both the understanding and the practical knowledge needed to support traumatised young people to recover and to transform their lives. A unique aspect of our model of care is that it's treatment focused, and it uses a therapeutic, attachment, trauma-informed, psychodynamic approach that is evidence-based and includes recent developments in neuroscience. What we value highly is our reflective practice across the whole organisation, from our young people to our board of directors. And we work to engage whole of community partnerships in parenting our children in a circle of care. Culture is the most important at Lighthouse, and it's the core of our operations, which features individual development plans that set goals and monitor progress of the young person's life skills, emotional, psychological and physical well-being, and are fundamentally driven by the young people themselves. Community committees. Each lighthouse home is surrounded by a circle of trusted local volunteers who usually meet monthly in the home and work to connect the residents, the young people and their carers to the community, as well as to commit to fundraising, which helps to pay the utilities for the home, literally keeping the lights on. Some of these community members have been around for 20 years. Longevity of contact and support after graduation from the Live-In program. The young people can stay as long as they need and then are supported to transition to independent living. Support is still available when needed and social contact is maintained, enlarging and growing the Lighthouse community. Prior residents have returned as carers, receptionists, psychologists, and can sit on our board as directors. We stay in contact with our young people for decades, after they've graduated from our homes. Our outreach program, operating from our Central Youth Resource Centre, provides a touchstone of support when needed for our growing community, and you can read more about the whole of our program in the book. But what is most important today in all of this, as you all know, is our young care leavers, to hear their voices, listen and act on what components of our program that they say matter to them. What our care leavers said mattered to them was that they had a sense of belonging. They knew they could still visit regularly for dinners, be mentors to other young people, and join in all community celebrations such as birthdays, special gatherings, visits to the home, or just to touch base. They knew they were loved and that there was emotional support constantly. They felt they have choice and were listened to, and were agents involved in building their own lives and planning their transitions to a fulfilling life. They are glad they have learnt the hundreds of practical skills to manage their own home, such as cooking and changing a light bulb. And they are supported to find safe accommodation, training in finance, health and well-being, and personal and social supports. And they also learn how to regulate themselves if they feel stressed, and could return home for respite if they had mental health or other issues and they still felt part of our community. They said they knew they could always ask for support from their Lighthouse Community Committee and could turn to this network for finding jobs, attending university and gaining apprenticeships. And in finishing, there was a Harvard study released in 2015 that said every child who winds up doing well has had at least one stable and committed relationship with a supportive adult, and that's what we're predicated on.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Oh, and there's the book.
Excellent, thank you. Now we have 2 minutes left, and I'm going to challenge everybody who's now in the session. We have heard a lot about involving young people. That does not only need active young people, it needs certain attitudes from us and our organizations. And I would like each of you to think of one word or sentence, be very quick, of an example of an attitude of yourself or the people working with young people, which is important, so young people can voice what they have to say and are really heard. I know it's a challenge, but I'm sure you're up to it. You can all open your microphones who are in this session, and please come up with a word or a sentence. How do you have to be so young people can speak?
Maybe I start. Matthias here again. I think for our project to develop that platform, we have to reach them via Instagram, all the social media channels, to engage them to apply to app testing, which is very challenging.
Okay, sorry, one sentence. Time is going up, but we've heard digital means modern
Just think outside the box.
Okay, excellent. Who else?
Okay, so Anna, if I understood your question right, you're asking us about our attitude and our perspective.
Yes, so that young
Okay.
people are heard a word or a term or a short sentence.
Yeah, I think for me, at least in my experience, the most important thing is that we have to go in with a huge sense of respect for them as human beings and the life stories that they have been through. And we start out as learners, as respectful learners to them.
Excellent, thank you very much. We probably have about 10 seconds left. Who still has a word?
Okay, I'll go. Gabriella is here. Gabriella here. So
Gabriella.
I just want to say that listening skills and the strength to really act based on the recommendations and the voices of the young people.
Thank you very much, Gabriella. We have to finish. When we reply to answers, we can still put together more questions after this session. Gabriella saying, listening to people and acting, I think that's an excellent transfer over to my friend Maximilian and his group of experienced experts. Maximilian, I pass over to you.
Thank you very much, Anna, and all the participants and presenters. Just 1 second. Thank you, everyone. It is my great pleasure and honor to be with you today and to moderate this session. So my name is Maximilian, and I had the honor of coordinating several youth-funded programs with Care Leavers, and it's especially a great joy to see many young people here that we've been working with, representatives from the Care Leaver associations, especially the one in Austria that was recently founded as a result from one of our programs that Gabriella mentioned before. It was a pleasure working with SOS in the Living Care program and coordinating that. And now it's beautiful to see all the outcomes of this and this amazing international network of young people and organizations and stakeholders coming together here and making this dream come true of this exchange of empowerment. And really what becomes most evident, of course, here is that the youth participation is key throughout this entire convention. So I'm glad to invite you to the second part of the session, looking at best practices as we're asking the questions, what do young people want as a good practice? So this is intended to get the opinions of young care leavers or young experts to what they regard as a good practice, what has helped them in their process of leaving care, and what they consider essential components that make a good practice. So this is a beautiful opportunity to have this interface and exchange between the care professionals and stakeholders in this field, and now the young people to give their direct feedback to what has worked for them and what they want to recommend and pass along to the many people working in legislation and creating policy and in trying to improve the quality of the leaving care process around the world. So I'm excited and delighted to welcome our young people here to this session. I want to introduce to you, starting with Mr. Marwan Khalil El Husari. I hope pronunciation was correct, from Egypt. Do you want to say hi, Marwan? Thank you. So Marwan is an Egyptian care leaver who is currently studying theatrical arts with a specialization in decoration. Marwan worked as a technical theater engineer and is an artist too. He did one solo exhibition in 2018 and participated in nearly 20 group exhibitions from 2016 until now. Furthermore, Marwan is also a volunteer in more than one charitable organizations to provide community aid and give lectures to support children morally. So currently he's a member of the Egyptian Care Leavers Forum at Watanea Society and volunteers with Watanea to provide assistance in youth programs and participates in brainstorming activities to achieve and improve the quality of care for orphans in that organization. Further on, I would like to welcome Georg Turnwalder, George, or in Austria, as we are pronouncing this, Georg from Austria. Georg, you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi, Georg. So Georg is from Austria. He's a young care leaver, and I had the pleasure of working with him in one of our Erasmus Plus programs. So he was in care between the age of 15 to 18 after he left care. After leaving care, a legal gap and a lack of flexibility of social welfare institutions became a challenge for him. Eventually, a local nonprofit organization helped him to gain a new perspective and become independent. Currently, he's studying business law in Vienna. In 2018, he participated in the EU project Care Leaving Dialogue, which Vice Austria coordinated as an Erasmus Plus program that aimed at improving the conditions and policy situations for young people. So there was a beautiful political dialogue that we organized, and Georg was very active in framing our policy recommendations and discussing with political decision makers. Georg believes that providing young people with the right opportunities to build a purposeful life is an important investment that benefits not only the individual, but also society as a whole. Thank you, Georg. Last but not least, I'm glad to welcome Mr. Deepak Casey to us.
Hello.
Deepak is from, can you say hi, Deepak?
Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Deepak, joining us here from Nepal. Deepak grew up in an SOS Children's Villages in Chorpati, Kathmandu, in Nepal. He is currently today an architect and an active leader in the disability movement. He's a co-founder of Independent Living Center in Kathmandu, which leads Nepal's efforts for the implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. He's also a registered life member of the Society of Nepalese Architects. In addition, he's an active member of National Paralympics Committee and currently serves as its Deputy Secretary General. And because that's not yet enough, he is currently also working as a short-term accessibility consultant at the World Bank Group in Nepal in earthquake housing reconstruction project. So beautiful success story here of a very creative and successful care leaver here. And unfortunately, the fourth member of our group, who is Sharon King, who would have joined from Australia, is not able to join us now. But in this sense, I would like to open the floor and welcome our young people here, since this is all about your participation and hearing your opinion on the best practices that we have just heard. Let's start with Marwan. What would you consider a good practice that has worked well, maybe in your leaving care process or from your personal experience that you'd like to share here? Oh, sorry, Marwan, we cannot hear you.
Now you're hearing me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Maximilian. Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be here today representing care leavers in Egypt and the Middle East. And thank you for the opportunity. Here in this session, we're talking about the good practices from our point of view as care leavers. And as a care leaver, I have identified 6 good practice points that, in my opinion, young people need to prepare them for their transition from care. The first one being education. We believe that all care leavers should be granted a non-negotiable right to complete their education system. And so we hope that the decision makers support us in attaining this goal. The second one is housing. We would like to have some financial support from relevant donor organizations in the form of an amount allocated to housing for each care leaver. The third one is health insurance. We would like NGOs to help in providing us with health insurance, especially in countries where there is no public health insurance. The fourth point would be equipping care leavers with the needed skills to become independent. This includes developing their employability skills, such as writing CVs, accountability, and punctuality skills. Also, the ability to deal with emergency situations as fires and having some first aid knowledge. In addition to this, us care leavers should have some basic domestic and housekeeping skills, including keeping a budget, learning teamwork skills, effective communication skills, and learning how to build healthy relationships. Each care leaver needs a detailed plan from his childhood is adjusted that they grow up to prepare them for the transition from care, which includes their needs, appropriate housing, health services, financial support, psychological support, legal support, educational and vocational support, all as programs to be provided. The fifth point is having an allowance We would like care leavers to be given an allowance according to their financial situations. And the sixth point and the final point is care leaver representation. There should be a care leaver representative in the cause of the parliament. It's also important to set up a high committee which specializes in care leavers affairs under the umbrella of the relevant ministry in order to deliver the voices of care heard and to accelerate the decision-making process. These are the main points that to me are good practices in supporting care leavers. And thank you for your time, listening to my point of view.
Thank you very much, Marwan. That was marvelous. We'll come back to ask you more questions. I'll want to make this a bit interactive and move in circles. So maybe we can move on to Austria now. From Egypt, Georg, maybe let's hear from you what participation is like for you, since this has been a key word all along. Do you feel you had sufficient opportunities to participate in making the crucial decisions that affected your young adult life in your care leaving process? And what do you recommend to all the people around us here as a best practice for youth participation? Thank you.
Thanks. I think for my personal experience, I've been very fortunate, and I think participation was never really a problem, like with the organizations I dealt with. So I think that works really well by now. I'm very satisfied with that respect.
Wonderful, thank you. Do you want to give us any other additional recommendations just on general best practice and what you think could have helped yourself and other young people in similar situations in this crucial process?
Yes, so I think what is very tricky, and that's also because I think in general the work with care leavers is very tricky because the needs of each care leavers are very individual. And I think it's very, very hard with the limited resources to really understand where the help is needed and to really help care leavers in need. Considering that even people with fully functional families often probably don't seek help if they need to, even though they would have it easier, kind of already shows how tricky this can be. So, but at the same time, I think care leavers often have strengths, and care leavers do being forced to are more independent, which is generally really helpful in life. But of course, still they kind of, it was mentioned before, this transition to independence. I think helping them there is just a very, very good investment and helps them to make really something out of their strengths. And the already mentioned digital platforms, I think could be a good way to leverage technology to actually provide this help, this broad help, which then can also be easier tailored to the individual level. And I think there was like youth links and help was mentioned. And I think those projects back then, when I could have made use of them, when they would be a great help, I've never heard of such things, but I think that sounds really like something that could make a big impact.
Great, thank you so much, Georg. Maybe
Thanks.
just to add some background on some of these platforms. So we were delighted to implement, to have the Youth Links platform run in Austria as part of the Leaving Care program. And it was a beautiful opportunity providing a platform for young people to exchange, to provide peer-to-peer mentorship. As well as we had invited care professionals and people from the business sector who would come in as mentors on trying to improve the accessibility into the job market. So there was lots of direct mentoring on writing a CV, on doing a job interview, and especially the peer-to-peer mentorship aspect was great. So I'm also glad we have Matthias here, whom I know is building a great new digital platform that could hopefully provide more accessibility to young people to exchange. So thank you for your input on that, Georg. Let's move on to Deepak, over to Kathmandu. I know Deepak has a short presentation about all the amazing things that he's doing. So maybe instead of me limiting it to a question, I'll give Deepak the floor to present about his background and amazing experience as a young person who has achieved all these things. So Deepak, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Max. Thank you very much. As I was grown up in SOS Children's Village, maybe the experiences and the coming up presentation will be the elaborate form of the SOS International's the presentation. It will be, I think, the one a kind of the a story, extra part of the story of the SOS Internationals as good practices. So without delay, I would like to share my not a kind of my journey as a caregiver from SOS to the current situations. So I would like to share my presentations. Thank you. Yeah. Can you see my presentations? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. As I am the only I guess only the persons having the disability in this caregiver experience, I thought that my personal journey would be worth for all of you to see how my life, how the caregiver life of person with disability who was raised in SOS Children Village looks like. So I will just briefly tell you my overall journey from where I was, how I entered to the SOS and what did I do throughout my overall journey. I'm architect and also an activist. Uh, Talking about my personal journey, I was born in the rural part of Nepal's. Uh, in the period where even the normal people should have to struggle entire year for their basics livings. So at that time, the access to the educations, access to the education or any other kind of the opportunity was a very rare to me. So thinking that my situation, my father's struggle very hard to find a proper place for me. So where I could uh, where I could shape my futures. So he come in contact with SOS Children Village Your Party, and in the right hand side you can see the childhood picture in the period while I interned in the SOS Children Village, SOS Children Village. So this is the part of journey while interning the SOS Children Village. It was really a turning point for my life. I got exactly to what I need as a child. Access to the educations, a mother, fathers, a kind of the homely environment that every child need at that period. And as a normal child, I study in the normal school and finish my normal schools. And later I managed to study in university as well. As a normal, and the left hand side is the pictures where I during the pictures where I was success to pass the school time, and on the right hand side pictures is my beginning of the college life. And you can see at that time when I was a graduate in the architectures, I was the only the persons who were having the disability. So after slowly before in the SOS and in a school life, I had not thought that I have not exposed to the outside world. And slowly when I when I exposed to the outside world, I realized that the society has not been prepared to expect us as a normal citizen, because wherever I go, I can find a kind of the attitudinal barrier, as well as a kind of the physical barrier everywhere I go, even in the public building, even in the university where I study, there was not even a ramp, and even the toilet where I could get, I could have the access easily. So I thought that I should have to, besides studying and having the good job, I thought that I should have to change my approaches, so to understand the society more, because at that time, before my school life, it was a kind of the limited, it was a fun life, but when I get real worlds and barrier, I started to think something different, and I thought I should have to change my strategy as well as my thinking. So I was very much interested to know the society, how it functions. So as I was searching for the right path, I came to know about um, the leadership training course in Japan, which was a focus for the person with a disability. And before that, I mean, training, I used to thought that the society, there is a barrier everywhere because I was disabled. But when I was in Japan, I could use, I do not feel myself as disabled, because I could use the public transportation. I could go everywhere. I could even drive the car. And then suddenly I thought that it was not because of me, because it was a system that they had not thought about us. So I uh, didn't thought about us, and that struck me and deeply. And from my mentor, I came to know that before, I mean, been 30 or 40 years before, the situation of Japan was the same like of today's Nepal. So it gave me a hope that society can be changed, and we should have to forward. Then after returning Japan with my co-worker, with my co-worker, I established the independent living centers, advocacy-based organizations, who advocacy-based, which, I mean, they work in a different issues of the person with disability. As I am being an architect, I focused my part in accessibility movement, and I started to join the different kind of the networks, and use my expertise and my experience to change, I mean, hope to change in the society. And due to our works, I mean, we succeed to pass even the accessibility guidelines in Nepal. Um, and even now we are networking and conducting different kind of the accessibility movement, both by professionally and I mean, both by professionally as well as doing the campaign with my other friends. And during my, in the later part of my life, as I was passionate about the sports of person with disability, I also involved in the sports sector as well, because it was so much, I mean, effective tools for advocacy and awareness. I had that kind of the opportunity while I was in SOS Children Village. So, and I used the sport as a tool for social advocacy and awareness, because I thought that it was an effective tool to change the society from one way to another. And this kind of the sporting activities I'm doing through my right now, from the National Paralympic Committee of Nepal, where I am right now working as an Deputy Secretary General. At last, I will say that no matter where we live, as caregiver, we are, each of us have the different kind of the story, a life struggle story, and each of us, whether if we are success or not, each of us has a story which we should share, and it has a power to impact to the society. The key is to raise our voice. So united we can united we can make a difference by raising our voice loud and clear to impact the thousands of us living in this world. So, and thank you very much. It was a brief, my presentation, what it looks like a life of caregivers having the disability. And thank you very much. Over to you, Max.
Wow, thank you so much, Deepak. That was truly a great presentation and a remarkable life journey and a success story that you have shared with us. It's such a privilege to have you with us. And I hope all the care professionals, as well as people in policy and all the organizations here providing support to caregivers, can borrow a lot from your journey and the recommendations. So we'll really appreciate your input. Let's journey back around the globe to Egypt and go back to Marwan, since you have been volunteering a lot and working with Watanea Society. Maybe you can give us some more of your experiences or recommendations in terms of mentorship that we have heard. What do you think would be a great practice for mentorships, and how could we improve, especially peer-to-peer mentorships and guided support for young people? Thank you.
I'm doing it. Hello again. For mentorship, I think, yes, I'm a volunteer in Watanea Society, and we do a lot of, like you are saying, mentorship. We are saying that we can say the support, mental support and psychological support is one of the most important things you need to do in this stage of caregiver's life, because it's a transition. Maybe they are not fine with it. So you do a lot of programs, courses to prepare them, to make them independent, to make them feel like safe. They are not abandoned. So first you do this support. And actually support, it could be a lot. I mean, it is the main, and it can be under the umbrella a lot of things: the support of psychological support and the mental support and the financial support, giving a financial support to complete your education, giving financial support to find your home. All of this is like a mentorshiping, like I was saying. So that's, in my opinion, one of the most things you need to do for each caregiver, so you can make them prepared and put them in the first, like you said, you put them on the road and they will continue. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Marwan, for this input. Let's take it from mentorship to the other key word of empowerment that we've heard, especially in Gabby's presentation. And Georg, maybe you can give a short insight into your journey. Maybe you had some very good quality of mentorship that guided you. As we know, it's a big challenge for many young people in the process of leaving care to get proper accessibility and guidance towards joining a higher education. So it's a great success story to know that you're currently studying business law. What was your journey of empowerment, or what do you recommend that could help for other young people in your situation? Thank you.
Thanks. What helped me a lot was that it's been told to me often that even though sometimes things were tricky, I kind of still have it in my own hand. So yes, I may receive help, but in the end, like what will determine my future is still kind of mostly within my hands. And I've been often reminded about that, and I think that helped me a lot. And I also had a lot of motivation. For me personally, like all my mentors, all the people that helped me, the people at the NGO, were really always reminding me that my actions today can shape my tomorrow, and they always also reminded me of that there will be always some shape or form of support. And so I think in Austria, we are very fortunate with the way it is, how you can go to university. So I'm sure at other places it's much harder. So here I really had the luxury of it being not even that hard. And I'm very grateful for that. But being reminded of the opportunities really helped all along the way. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Georg. Yeah, I guess we can collect some of the biggest challenges, and what you can also see, a great synergy in policy recommendations that have come up or demands from care leaver networks around the globe is just that limitation of global policy that supports young people mostly until the age of 18. And that then, of course, affects all aspects of funding and forces many organizations to do most of their work supporting young people beyond the age of 18 to become voluntary work. This is actually a comment I want to get into that a participant just raised, Hala Notieno from Kenya. And actually, I forgot mentioning that today I'm also joining you guys from Kisumu. So Ruth, I'm your neighbor. I've had the privilege of working with FISE Kenya in their foundation, and I'm currently here working for our NGO called Make Me Smile Kenya. So we're supporting about 22,000 young people here with a team of 400 social workers. And we've been also seeing that resonance of the biggest challenge being, what to do beyond the age of 18, because most of the funded programs as well, whether it's government or it's from the international community, the funds and grants just mostly go to supporting young people to the age of 18. And that's why we need the policy makers here and the political decision makers who are hopefully joining us from around the globe to really realize that big challenge affecting young people and putting them into a great risk of affecting their futures in so many ways. So other mutual demands or challenges that we're faced are this flexibility to change the care and to support, so between foster care or residential, as well as the continuity of relationships. So many young people have great connections with care professionals, and then this is kind of interfered by the 18th birthday. But maybe, just to give it back once more to hear the voices of care leavers, I'd be glad to, maybe first we can ask among the three participants of you, if you have some more recommendations, especially to the organizations and the best practices that were presented. And otherwise it would be great to have maybe Ruth and Nima here. I'm not sure if Nima still has technical challenges or is able to join us now. Since you've been guiding the whole convention, yeah, it would be great to add your voices still and see what else you want to share with our participants as best practices. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
That's fine. I missed my first introduction, and also I just want to thank you for Anna and Maximilian and all the great speakers. And as a care leavers, I have a few questions because I was just missed the first spaces, but I have listened to all, and I have just a few questions from you all, the speakers. First, I just want to ask to come on board for the speakers who were in the previous session with Dr. Anna. So I just want to ask, are you already in the implementation stage to good practices for care leavers? And also what inspired you from what the care leavers now presented here? I think you have got my question. Gabriela, I think that I like your smile. I think that you will be speaking at me.
Yes, may I?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so all the projects I presented are in implementation, they're ongoing. And I have so many takeaways. I have taken lots of notes listening to Georg, Deepak, and Mavan Khalil. And I love the last quote from Georg, and that he said that even though it was tricky, I still have it in my hands. And for me, that's such a big takeaway to to also remember, and what I also hear from the young people that I work with, that the future is really in their hands, and we are there to support in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gabriela. Ruth, I think you also have smiled. Do you also have one question?
Yes, I have a question. And first and foremost, thank you so much, everyone, for wonderful presentations. One, I just want to start with a challenge. Someone from Jordan talked about the lack of policy to support caregivers as they are exiting. And I appreciate that we have, organizations supporting caregivers in the Living Care Project. But my question is, without a policy speaking into this, how sustainable do we think this is? Because, with a policy or law, we are not going to hold anyone accountable. If Gabriela chooses not to support caregivers in SOS, how are we going to hold her accountable? So in your own view, do we all think that it's time that we are supposed to initiate a Living Care policy? And I just want to share something. From Kenya Society of Caregivers. It's been 11 years and a lot of advocacy work. But one of the challenges we faced is that not so many people thought about living care really as a problem that people need to address. Up until lately, that we are having some light at the end of the tunnel when, the board mandated with policy making is now saying, oh, actually, because of care reform, we need to think about the transitioning and the living care. And up until yesterday, when they said, yeah, we need to sit down and see what we can do and have a living care policy. My question again to all of us here, for countries without a living care policy, are we all in agreement that this is the only sustainable way and a long-lasting change? I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like as much as there are donors and charities that want to give, it's not sustainable up until we have a law. So anyone who wants to respond to that, and then I'll go to the next question.
Thank you, Ruth, for that. That's really very important. I think a really important issue is that, okay, we have some NGOs that are actually very committed and very well established to support care leavers, despite not having policies. But yes, we still need policies because we cannot depend on the presence of a commitment of a few good people that are there at that time. But I think another really imperative issue for policies is not just sustainability alone, even though that's really crucial. It's also about accountability.
And if
because
I may
it
add,
is the state, because it is, with all due respect, even if care leavers, most countries have signed the CRC, it is the state that has decided to remove those children at very young ages from their families. So while they might not be legally obliged per se to provide services after these young people become adults, they are actually morally obliged. You took that decision on their behalf when they were children, then you continue with supporting them. It's a moral obligation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Someone else wanted to respond.
Sure, I just wanted to add to what Dr. Rowan said in regards to our situation in Jordan. I mean, we have begun implementation. The fact that there is the CSO, social support network for care leavers, it's a start. It's definitely not where we want it to be. But the good thing about it is that this network, it's not just, yes, it's about supporting care leavers in their aftercare, but it's also, and a part of the mandate of the network to advocate, for policies to protect their rights. And so I'm happy to say that some of the most active members of this network have, continued the conversation, are still looking for ways, to work together closely in order to carry out the necessary conversations with the Ministry of Social Development here in Jordan in order to make sure, I know it's quite frustrating that we don't have a policy yet, but the fact that it's even on, the agenda at the level of civil society, bringing it to the government, it is a step forward. And the point is that this has started, and it's, it's going to continue. It's not going to stop until eventually there is the policy that we need. So Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ida Maximilian.
Sorry, yes, Ruth, I just wanted to wrap up looking at time, so we got 1 minute left. Thank you all so much for your inputs. I'm sure there are many, many more questions. And just a reminder to the audience as well that you can drop all your questions in the chat box and they will be responded to you individually by mail so that we save time. This was really, truly an amazing session, and I feel so privileged that we had all of you young experts and professionals here on the ground exchanging and sharing your expertise. I think it becomes evident that to create a long-term and sustainable impact, there's an absolute requirement for intense collaboration between all the stakeholders, between government, civil society, and the international communities at large, but especially to give more attention to the voices of young people. And this convention is such a beautiful example and a success story of the whole international care leaving world and the networks that are coming up around the globe. And it's beautiful that the organizers and everybody involved is creating this platform to allow all these young people to speak and really inform the international world around leaving care with their personal expertise that they have collected. So thank you so much for this to all the participants and the people who've been sharing. And I'm handing back over from Kisumu to Nairobi, as Ruth probably has some more closing words. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to let you know that you should not miss the next session because we're just going out for a break, but we have an amazing session for you guys. Please come back, don't go away because we need you. And as Maximilian, comes from Make Me Smile, I do hope that we all smile today and he has some more to make us smile. So all the best and see you after the break.
Gott, tut mir so
Macht ihr den
leid.
Anfang?
Thank you so much, and I hope we have everyone from the break. Thank you for coming back and for keeping time. I just think that this is one of the best things that have happened for Calivas, just to come together and listen to all of us. I am just very, very, very much excited about this. And I just want to bring on board my other co-hosts for the last 2 days, Karishma, Nemo, Fabian, and Mai, to join me in presenting to you what we actually think, are the key takeaways for the last 3 days. So please come over. I just want to bring you over. I'm just hoping others are wrapping up, but I think we already have enough people so we could get going. I am sure everyone has a highlight, but what are some of the key takeaways and what do the rest of my co-hosts think in regard to this? So please come over. I just want to bring you over. I'm just hoping others are wrapping up. Hi, Karishma. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Karishma, over to you.
Thank you, Ruth. So now we start the session where we talk about our key takeaways. First of all, a big thank you to all the participants. We have our best to collect draft key takeaways during the 4 pre-event and these 3 days. So European counts as the convention theme is also together towards empowerment. So we invite you to contribute. Next steps and possibilities to participate will be shared at the end of this presentation. Over to you, Ruth.
I just want us to see, what are some of these things that are really outstanding to us. But one of the things that caregivers feel, and is a takeaway for us, is that we want caregivers who understand, accept, and nourish us. And this has been, repeated severally as we were going through the last 2 days. So caregivers want caregivers who understand, accept, and nourish us. And this just brings me to one of my friend and a caregiver from Zimbabwe who said, one of the things that happened to them was being placed with a caregiver that they did not even consent to, and they were never comfortable. So perhaps we just be very deliberate and intentional in making sure that the caregivers we have are understanding, accept, and nourish. And this will only come when we have participation with young people and children. The family is as essential as the blood family, and I know issues around family are very complex, but the caregivers feel that the heart family, what is it, what is the state of your heart at the moment is very essential as your blood family for those who do not have the privilege to be with their biological families. But really, let us just reflect and think of what actually family means.
Yeah, so we want to be better prepared for leaving care so that we lead a good and healthy life. And it is very, very important, to understand that when a child is 18 and not prepared, and suddenly the child goes out in the world, how difficult the life becomes for that child. And also, we may not forget that all care leavers who missed the boat have the scope for a second chance, and we must respect that. Over to you, Nimu.
And also we should have a seats such as the table at International Network, UN, etc. And also we need free and quality. We stand for all caregivers, by caregivers, and with caregivers as a motto, like we did as a team, Generation Never Give Up Network. We should be as a network.
We want, and the caregivers want to have access to the digital world so we can have access to information, education, employment, and other services. This cannot be stressed enough because, we understand the huge digital divide, and we know it cuts across even, people growing up in families, but it's more prevalent with caregivers who are not really able to, or do not have the privilege to have access to this. So caregivers and we want to have access to the digital world so we can have access to information, education, employment, and other services. And even more that we have the new normal. Fabienne, over to you.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, I love that phrase. My life is your job, because it really sums up what is really important. I mean, it's the life of some people, and we have people working for this, and we need to put the emphasis on this, that the life for care leavers is the job of some people, and we need to put all the essence into this, I think. We want more participatory research on our strengths, resilience, and on challenges. We need to give the space to people to be able to participate in every way they can, because it's their life. Nothing about us without us. I like to say that this one phrase who says, why are other people deciding, who are not living my life, deciding about my life? Because nothing is without me. Who is about me?
Yeah, and 25 should be the new 18, for soft landing from Planet Youth Care to Planet Earth. And also, I would like to add here that it's very, very important for us to, introspect. If we had our own children, what, we are going to do with our own children. So it is very, very important to ask and understand what would you do, with your children if they were having the same situation like us. Over to you, Nimu.
Yeah, I just want to give this to the Neelam.
Thank you, Nimu. So we need support to learn to share our self stories, stories of us, in such a way that it's healing for us and beneficial for the outside world. We must build our self-esteem despite our challenges, because our struggles are our motivation. We need to spread and advocate for our declaration by care leavers in times of COVID-19 among policymakers around the world. Together, we shall stand to walk a journey of empowerment. Now, I would ask Fabian to, come and say the line.
Peer-to-peer local and national support groups for care leavers need to be promoted and supported. They need all the support they could have to just be able to work here in a local or national area and to support each other. Care leaver networks are like families. I really like this phrase, because I remember the time when we were talking about care leavers, and everybody was like there and said like, I don't even if I don't know a person, he's like family, because you just instantly connect with the care leaver from wherever he is, and you have this connection who is so special, because you already know through what this person went through, and then you just instantly connect, and we are like a family, because we're this big family of care leavers who is here to support each other. And we need to build an international care leavers network and work towards the second International Care Leavers Convention in 2022. We need to stick on this, to keep connected. It's so important. We can and want to give back, but support but support us in this process. We can do it alone. It's difficult, and we want to have help, to have support in this process. But we want to really work in this and be part of this wonderful process.
And yes, also we want to be included in decision policymaking processes that affect our lives.
We should have a seat at the table at national and international forums, UN, etc. So I would say that if we would be, provided a seat at the table, we would have an opportunity to drive our own lives, to seek support for the things that, that we need support for. So I feel that this is very important, that we all care leavers should be given a seat at the table with the policymakers and with the government, with the civil society organizations, so that we can make decisions for ourselves. Thank you. I would ask Fabian to come and speak.
Yeah, those who decide for us have not lived our lives, so listen to us, please, while making policies for us. You cannot change and make policies for us if you haven't lived our lives, so please listen to us. We will share the draft takeaways with all our participants of the convention here. And we have created a menu on the Padlet with these takeaways, like dishes on the menu. And you find it under this website. It's tinyoral.com/takeaways2020. And if you miss something, feel free to add a dish, key takeaway to the menu. And it's possible until midnight from the 25th November. Just use the plus icon. And a complete menu will be shared with care leavers and care leaver networks, so you can prioritize which points should remain. And the final care leavers agenda will be presented during the post event on the 11th December 2020, and more information you will find on the conference website. Be there.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you got to share with us the same sentiments, and perhaps wherever you're seated, you get to relate with some of the key takeaways. So I'm calling over, I want to bring over Nemo to take us to the next session quickly.
Yep. Thank you, Ruth. And now that you have heard for us, and let me call Liliana as the moderator to lead the next discussion on what global leaders have to reflect on this and how we can be supported in our Agenda 2020. So Liliana is a social worker and currently working with SOS Children's Village, correction, trauma-informed practice, and mentorship support for care leavers. Over to you, Liliana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nemo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last session of this first International Care Leavers Convention. I cannot believe that it's already end. It seems to me like it started now. I feel definitely the same excitement as the first day. But the end is here, and during this couple of days, we heard many inspiring and very constructive ideas and things. And now it's time to make final conclusions. Martina Taube at the opening said, talked about snowball effect, and she said, let's make the this snowball move. I think during this couple of days, many snowballs were made, and they're definitely moving. And I would now ask our four panelists guide us how to use all these snowballs, all this energy, accumulated energy, ideas, motivation, knowledge, and build a better future. Or to be more concrete, what opportunities are there for caregivers that they can use and make the change? We will start with basis. We talked about a lot of participation, and let's see at the beginning how voices of caregivers, their engagement, their participation can make progress. And that's why I will call Ms. Deborah Jones, co-founder and the CIO of Voices from Care, for share with us future suggestions. And please, Deborah, introduce yourself in more detail before you start. Thank you, Deborah.
Good morning. I'm just going to switch screens. Give me 2 secs. Okay. I just need to move that. Okay, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, I guess, in your time. My name is Deborah Jones, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder, member of a non-for-profit independent organisation called Voices from Care Cymru. We have our own language, so Cymru means Wales in the UK, for those who are not aware. I would like really to begin by thanking you all genuinely for inviting me to this exciting, important Care Leavers Convention. I do feel very, very privileged and also passionate about the key themes that you've all been discussing over three days, of which I dipped in and out of. Couldn't always see what was going on, but picked up some of the background information. Unfortunately, I come late to the party. I've been on leave, so I didn't prepare any kind of presentations. So I more wanted to take you on a journey of the organisation I set up, really, along with a group of other young people, becoming quite historic now, over 30 years ago. But Voices from Care Cymru is a service user-led organisation set up in 1990. And we based our kind of criteria on and set our kind of fundamental principles in the UNCRC, which you're all familiar with, on the rights of child, for both children who are currently in the care system, as it was then called, and for care leavers in Wales. We really began, and obviously I'm talking from a lived experience perspective myself, by hearing young people via, unfortunately, complaints about institutional abuse that was taking place at that time in residential units in at that time, particularly North Wales. And that cascaded eventually across international boundaries. UK set up various police investigations, and unfortunately we found that young people were telling the truth, and that on occasions they had been ignored, and on a lot of occasions complaints equally hadn't been represented fully in any kind of way that was meaningful. So that's the kind of negative start for me, sorry guys, but it was very complicated. But what it did lead to was the passion of young people. We campaigned for a public inquiry into institutional exploitation, and that led to many, many international inquiries, including Australia, New Zealand, and the Isle of Wight. The positive from that is we got legal representation in the inquiry, which brought forward the current voices that were in the care system at the time. And this led to us making recommendations to the independent judge or stroke chairperson that there be immediately set up an independent children's commissioner, that there be set up an independent advocacy service that included peer advocacy, and a mandate of including care experienced children and young people into all decision-making procedures and processes in Wales, strengthening children's rights across Wales. As I've mentioned, I come from a similar background with lived experiences. That's led me to really setting up, along with 2 other young people, a national organisation that feared to go on occasions where angels would tread, because we needed to challenge governments of every levels that their processes were actually discriminatory to this particular group of young people in terms of care experienced young people. So a lot of work then, a bit of a snapshot view of 30 years, sorry guys, but I kind of want to leave you with some key messages that supported us and still supports us today in working with and developing services alongside young people. And an example of how we've included and kept young people vibrant to the organisation is obviously through our constitution, which involves, for example, our board of trustees are split of young people and professionals. So the young people certainly keep me in line in my role, thank God. So the key messages I would like to offer you to end really fundamentally lies in the children's rights movement, the essential need for care experienced community to be embedded within decision-making processes, and that goes across policy and legislation and across local, national, European and international frameworks. If we're ever to make any significant progress, we have to be identified as a community. The key to this is to embed an inclusive community that understands the needs of influence and change and involving the services of the voice of service users and care leavers in the design and delivery, and more to the point, understanding and improvement the outcomes of this group of children and young people. I'd like to conclude with a few examples of good practice that we've introduced to not just Wales, but the UK and across our borders into Ireland, Scotland and England. By actively listening to care leavers, I constantly hear politicians say we need to listen more to young people and care leavers and our care experienced community, but I don't always see active evidence of active listening and what that looks like. And next kind of offering for you really is about embedding care leavers' views into the design and delivery of services, which I've kind of mentioned. A critical thing to our organisation is we've developed participation mechanisms, strategies, etc. And that could easily transfer into organisations across the world without a problem. A key thing to hearing the voice of young people is developing advocacy and peer advocacy approaches. A big thing that we're doing in Wales at the moment, which is about accountability for the outcomes of young people, is we're developing a corporate parenting approach. And I can talk about that, another time, happy for people to contact me. But what it basically means is that we're enshrining in law, and we're still campaigning to get this incorporated fully into law, that each and every corporate parent, which includes health, which includes the police, which includes housing and homelessness services, which includes education, which includes social services, and it goes on, are all held accountable for improving the outcomes of our care experienced community. I'm nearly finished. The other key thing is about each and every one of every one of us acting as defenders of children's rights. And that includes providing safe environments, offering the necessary support. So there's a one-stop shop for young people to come in and feel safe and have their needs addressed. A key thing we also do at the moment is we're challenging stigma and what that looks like in Wales. And another key thing that we've developed during our work over 30 years is that in terms of equality, we want our care experience community to be recognised as a community. And a big thing that young people have talked to us about, and this goes across the 5 nations in the UK, is the importance of love and being loved and loved. And for many, that's been about 3 years of discussions, because for a lot of young people, they didn't want to be loved. But equally, we needed to understand the importance of being nurtured and how systems understand how they can love our children and young people and our care leavers across the world. So, thank you for your kind patience and good luck in moving forward with this very important work, and very important for us to own the narrative and keep smiling. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah, for sharing this rich experience of voices from care, and giving audience a few suggestions how to improve a participation process. Now we come to the part where often everything stops. That I'm talking about finances. Luckily, Dr. Delia Popp knows some opportunities that can be used for financing. And she will also talk about one more important thing, and that is leadership, and how to use those finances to lead others to make the change. Delia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope my connection will stay in good order. First and foremost, thank you for inviting me to be part of this amazing conference. I think I am inspired, and I believe we are witnessing the development or the growth of a social movement. Few words about me. I am the director of a fund specifically set up to support care reform in Bulgaria. But I've spent my past 20 years as a practitioner, advocate, implementing, change maker, working with an organization called Hope and Homes for Children across the world. I am Romanian, I live in the UK, and I've worked across the world in Eastern Europe, in Africa, in Latin America and Asia, all with a key inspiration that was given to me by the children, young people and the parents that I met through this journey. I think it's, I want also to recognize the key takeaways from this conference, and I think they're all relevant to what we were thinking in anticipation that we would be able to create or highlight as opportunities for young people and care leavers and all those with lived experience. Love and belonging, respect, free access to services, the development or the belonging to a movement by care leavers with care leavers, access to the digital world, and this is an opportunity that we have in a moment of crisis during COVID times. My life is your job, an emphasis on ensuring that the professionals that work in the field are really understand and skilled enough to be able to support adequately children and young people. Participatory research, participation, I heard participation, and it's so important, but not only participation, but also agency, the ability to actually write the story, not just be part of the story. I've heard about storytelling, and I think there is a huge amount that we have ahead of us as opportunities to enable young people to build their skills around storytelling. So their stories and the stories of them as a movement who are really informing and leading the policy making and the service design. I've heard empowerment, networks as families and connection. And I've heard the most important thing around listening to young people's voices, to caregivers' voices in the policy making exercise. So all these points are really important. As donors and experts in the field, we have a responsibility to enable caregivers and children and young people without parental care in the system to not just to participate, but to really have the skills, the knowledge, the access, and the infrastructure that they need to be able to be at the center of policymaking, to be able to be at the center of the service design, to be able to be those voices who contribute their lived experience to the most important elements of what one would define the quality of a system to fulfill their full potential, and give back. Because that was one reflection that came back through the conversations today, and I've heard about it yesterday. It's about how can you support us to give back? So in my little reflection today, I wanted to highlight two opportunities. One is an opportunity around access to resources. And what I know from the position where I sit as a donor, as a very new funder, let's put it like this, with experience of giving, I feel that the field of giving is now opening up more and more to enabling social movements, to enabling access for individuals and organizations to funding that will support grassroots, sustainable, long-term change. And I know there are a lot of barriers, and those barriers are sometimes very bureaucratic. They are big walls, but they can be teared apart. You know, huge requirements on the applicants, very complicated bureaucratic processes to put those applications together, you know, very formulaic evaluations methods, which do not encourage individuals, small organizations, you know, young people associations to even dream that they can access the funding. So what we need in the donor world is to learn more from young people and emerging organizations and social movements. What are their funding needs? What are their skill sets that they need to learn in order to be able to access? How can we tear apart some of those barriers that they are currently facing so we can make funding available to support the development of this amazing movement? The second part of our task as donors is also to share the knowledge that we have in our specific areas of giving and to connect the dots. It's for the first time for me when I hear about certain groups and initiatives, they are amazing. So why don't we just share this knowledge and make it available to everyone? So the exercise of someone who's implementing on the ground or trying to set up a new network or an organization supporting or representing caregivers, it's not a daunting task. You would already have a very clear list of organizations that you can learn from rather than reinventing the wheel every single time. Last but not least, I think as donors, we also need to hear strong the voice of caregivers and to really understand how best would be for us to invest in areas that are maybe not that obvious, not that apparent. You know, there are always areas that are always loved, delivering direct impact, but when it's about providing access to digital or enabling someone with a computer or a mobile phone, that's a little bit more complicated. So we need to hear the voices of those who need resources, and we need to understand where those resources need to be invested and what could be the impact that we get out of it. And last but not least, I think at global level, we have a significant opportunity. We had a very challenging year, and probably next year will be a bit of the same, but hopefully we'll get out of the epidemiological threat of COVID-19. Nevertheless, the financial impact will last much longer. So we will be operating in an environment that is really resource constrained, an environment where is even more important for people with lived experience to have a direct contribution to the shaping up of services, to the shaping up of policies, and for really being able to draw the funding where is needed. I do believe, as I said at the beginning of my intervention, that we are witnessing the beginning of a social movement. And I would like to quote an amazing professor. I have the privilege to be in a course at Harvard taught by Marshall Gantz, who's one of the most amazing community organizers and activists working with Obama in his first administration. And Marshall told us that social movements emerge as a result of the efforts of purposeful actors, individuals, organizations, to assert new public values, form new relationships rooted in those values, and mobilize the political, economic, and cultural power to translate those values into action. These social movements differ from fashion, styles, or fads, viral or otherwise, in that they are collective, strategic, and organized. And I think this is where I bring my second most important reflection. Us here, enablers of caregivers and other young people, children, and individuals with lived experience, we have an opportunity to exercise leadership. And leadership accepted as a responsibility to create the conditions that enable others to achieve shared purpose in the face of uncertainty. Leaders who accept responsibility, not only for their individual part of work, but also for the collective whole. Leaders that can create conditions interpersonally, structurally, and or procedurally. I think this is our most important responsibility. This is where we can all give back. And I would like to complete my intervention with offering a small cohort for a group of young caregivers who are interested in developing their leadership skills through storytelling. Storytelling and leadership is really intertwined. So I'm offering, of course, a limited number, up to 15 places, free totally, for young people, caregivers across the world who might be interested in working together to develop this approach to leadership that they can then hopefully bring it back to their communities and help create the social movement that we all desperately need to reform the care system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Delia, for this amazing offer. And this is a nice way to go forward to speak about advocacy. So when we learn how to speak and how to tell our story, then we can advocate for our thing. And I would like to ask Ms. Mia Dambach to tell us to whom caregivers can speak and tell their stories, their needs, and their demands. Mia, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Liliana. Thank you for also inviting me to this excellent conference. It's encouraging to see so many of you so passionate and so able to express what you would like to see as a change in this world. Building on what Delia said in terms of key takeaways, for me, what I've heard from you is that you'd like to be included in decision making. You'd like to have a seat at international forums, including the UN. And that's why I explained to the conference organizers that that's what I would like to speak to you about, is what are your opportunities at the UN, and build on the work you've already done at the UN. So if we look back already, maybe over 10 years ago now, care leavers were very, very active I don't know if you know this story, but you know the UN guidelines for the alternative care of children. It was a project that UNICEF started in 2004 with ISS, where I work at the moment. And as we were drafting the text, the initial versions of the text, we shared it with some care leavers. And they said, yeah, that's very good. That's really good. But what does that's not going to be helpful for us. You're talking about children that are at risk of being in care or are in care, but that doesn't help us as care leavers or people that are about to leave care institutions or about to leave foster care. So they were very, very adamant that we should include a section on care leavers. And it was because of you that these sections and these paragraphs are now included in the UN guidelines for the alternative care of children, which is a UN standard, which is the UN text. And it does now mean that every state in the whole world has to follow these obligations to protect and to look after those leaving care. The other way you have also changed the way the UN or the International Forum works is if you look at the massive open online courses that we've developed as interagencies. In the development, especially of the one on children on the move, there were, I'd say, 30 or 40 young people that were involved expressing on this MOOC, on this training, what is it that they want? What is it that they would like in terms of care options for them? This MOOC has reached almost 30,000 people, 30,000 participants in French, English, Spanish, and Arabic. So your voice is going out across the world. But what are the options and what are the opportunities that you have now? Some of the opportunities you have now are, for example, the 2019 UN resolution. There is what is called this, I have to read it because it's quite a long title. It's called Transforming Children's Care Global Collaborative Platform. In this global collaborative platform, it is an opportunity for you to reach the world and to set up your own group as care leavers to express and what it is exactly that you want to bring up these key takeaways, to join up with other care leavers across the world. There is also the 2021 Day of General Discussion. Even in the preparation of that, I know that some care leavers are already participating in the content of that, what should be the topics, what should be the themes. This is another way to get the Committee on the Rights of the Child to hear what you have to say, what it is you want in terms, and really influencing them in terms of the recommendations at the end. But I think for me, another area aside from these one-off events is the opportunities that you have at a national level with the UN treaty body mainstreaming. Because as you know, every 5 years, your country will be examined either by the Committee on the Rights of the Child, either by the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, either by the Committee on Migrant Workers. And if you team up with the national children's rights organisations in your countries and you make sure that care leavers issues are part of the submission, then very often those committees will take into account what you're saying and include them as recommendations to the states. And when they include them as recommendations to the states, then this is a very powerful advocacy tools in national context to say to the state, listen, the Committee on the Rights of the Child has said that you need to look at this issue. You need to, or the Committee on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights has said that you need to make sure that our needs, our economic, cultural, social needs are met in this area. One good example, just so that to say, well, does it actually work? Yes, it does work, because SOS Children's Villages was very, very active when Albania was being examined at the Universal Periodic Review. And in that review, they kept saying, well, the age of 15 is far too low for care leavers. So because of the advocacy work, that care leaver age then was increased to 18. Of course, what you're wanting is up to 25, but these are opportunities for you to advocate for that. And then the states will have to listen to these UN bodies. Then, of course, you also have your regional treaty bodies. You've got the African Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, you've got the Council of Europe, you've got ASEAN, you've got all these other regional bodies that you can have your voices heard. And lastly, if you have a complaint, a real complaint, one where you've exhausted your national remedies, then you've got the complaints mechanism as well, the communication procedure. And this is also encouraging the governments to take into account what the committee has said. And I think that there are some real opportunities for care leavers to have their voices heard at these UN forums. And it's just about contacting the right people to know how do you make submissions and making sure you're aware when your countries will be examined, and then doing it jointly, because the committees are far more likely to hear when it's a joint voice, a network voice, a group of children, rather than just one voice. Here you can really make an impact. Together, you will make a difference. Together you have already made a difference, but together you can continue to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia, for this amazing summing up all these opportunities. I call really all care leavers that are here to use them, to use all that they heard and to share, and moreover to share with others. So as you may have said, together we have more chance to be heard and make a difference. Now we go to the person thanks to who all this thing started, all this convention is here. And I kindly ask Ms. Dr. Kiran Modi to say how to develop way forward. And now that we are on end, please tell us how to move further. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Liliana. Actually, last 2 days and today, third day, it has been such an eventful, period, and we've been hearing so much from researchers, policymakers, from care leavers, and it is coming out with such force that now is the time to do something. And before I just sum up, the kind of takeaways I have taken personally and the kind of commitment I can make on behalf of my organizing committee, I would just like to tell something to the audience here. Would you know how many people were there on our platform in the last 3 days? It's almost 1,550 people from 83 countries. Had it been an in-person conference as it was supposed to be in March, we could never have reached this kind of a reach. So thank you to everyone who came here, who spent time, who invested time actually on this such a worthy cause. So I must thank everyone. For me, there have been certain dialogues which came up, and I think our care leavers are so full of these beautiful one-liners, and they give you the philosophy, and we have to understand that. I think they want a lexicon change. It should be advocated at the policy level. Why services? It takes away from care. The way we talk about services as if this is part of a project that is being managed rather than cared for. I think this is such an important line which all of us must understand. Another care leaver said, why only successful? Why don't you have scope for failures? And to think of it, all the care leavers who have been able to come here, they are the ones who are still successful. They are the ones who have been able to join this platform. And it bleeds my heart. Out there are thousands and millions who don't even get food in this COVID period. Leave aside technology. How would they join? How are we going to listen to them? How are we going to include their voices? We really need to think about this. So we should not be worrying only about success stories. We should be thinking of failures and how these could be improved. We have to think about youth with disabilities. It was so wonderful to listen to Deepak, how, with SOS Help, he has been able to reach somewhere. But out there are so many youth with disabilities. They just, especially in India, I've seen they just, loiter in the children's homes because there is no other way, they could be taken care of. In the last 3 days, we have been hearing again and again about collective action, being together, working together, governments, practitioners, voluntary sector, researchers, businesses. We all need to come together with and for care leavers. Mark Riddle, in his keynote address, he said repeatedly, we need to go beyond the governments. We need to go to the voluntary sector and corporates. And just now, Delia also said the same thing. There is money available. We need to really work on it. Joseph Koch, he talked about church and youth welfare agencies and parliamentarians. We should reach out to just about everyone. It should not be a terminology, care leavers, only for our kind of people. We are all sensitized. We know this, but a man on the street, at least I know about India, you talk to them about care leavers, they would say, what is that? They have no clue. So we need to reach out everywhere so that this becomes important. This important issue becomes as important to us as it becomes important to others. We have talked about technology, and thanks to, Martini, she has been able to manage her own Zoom for care leavers in Zimbabwe, and she's been able to make some care leavers join here. But how many of us are able to do that? So this is something, I think technology is for education, for development, for, coming together. We need digital platforms, but we also need to make it available. I think Mark Riddle was talking about going to technology companies and asking them to en masse give it to care leavers. Care leavers have been demanding inclusion and participation. And when we use these words, sometimes we as practitioners, as policymakers, sometimes we are using it as a tokenism. We really need to understand. I remember one of the children in my home, she had told me, you are only hearing me, you are not listening to me. And that's when I understood, I have to listen to her words and listen to between the lines. Then only I'll be able to do justice to her. There are so many advocacy groups who are there. One of the care leavers just wrote, why care leaver networks are not asked to say, how did they create networks? How did they sustain? And I think, yes, this is a point, we missed. Some care leaver networks have been able to present here, but maybe, when the next time it happens, more and more care leavers will be coming forward and they will be making global platforms. This has also come out again and again in the last 3 days. And before that, a complete 1 month where we did 4 pre-events. It came out again and again. A global network, a global platform of care leavers network is needed. There should be transnational exchange programs for care leavers. Academia, like University of Hildesheim, they have to get involved, and how beautifully they've done it. They brought German care leavers to India, and Indian care leavers met them. For them, it was a whole new world opening up. We need to expose them to all these kind of things. Unless the children get exposure, how would they think beyond? So these are some of the takeaways for me. Another takeaway that has been coming to my mind, and I just love Interact. They have academics all over the world who are doing such wonderful researches. But, for the first time, they opened their doors for a practitioner like us coming from Asia. It really, brought home the fact that there should be research groups in Asia, and maybe an Asian Interact group should be there. I have also been thinking about, actually, one of the care leavers only said, how do you make the universal knowledge in the local context? Okay, we need to understand what's happening all over the world, but how do I apply? And Martini said snowball effect, which Liliana, you also talked about. I think this can happen only when there is a bigger platform where care leavers can go and browse and everything is available for all over the world. Then only they can see globally and they can look nationally and come back locally. It will have a snowball effect. And I think all the people who are present here, all of us must make this commitment that we will make it possible for them to have this kind of a snowball effect. We've been talking about Committee on the Rights of the Child at the DGD 2021. Yesterday, Nancy from Lumos, and today, Mia, all of them have been talking about it. Our care leavers must make this opportunity. And we as practitioners must encourage them and find opportunities for them. Then only they will be able to reach out. I have to tell you one heart-rending appeal. One of the care leavers said, instead of stigmatizing care and children and youth in care, the standards should be such that people should come banging onto our doors to put their children into care. One would think, are we asking people to abandon their children? No, it was a cry from a care leaver, a plaintive cry to improve the system, to make it as good as it is for your children, that you will not feel the difference between a child into care and your own child. I think, I would like to really stress upon it that, and also look at the theme of the conference. The theme of the conference is together towards empowerment. And that's what we've done in the last few days, few months. We really need to take this momentum ahead. I'm so glad, and Delia, I can't thank you enough for encouraging by saying such a beautiful words that, it's sounding like beginning of a movement. And this movement will be possible when people like you who are going to train, 15 care leavers into leadership. Just imagine what it will do. I would also like to say, now I have already, put down my thoughts, and there are many other things coming to my mind. My mind is actually churning at this moment with ideas and with just the thought that let's do this and let's do that. But now it's time that I must make commitments on behalf of my organizing committee, SOS Children's Villages, University of Hildesheim, and Kinder Perspective. And the 4 care leavers networks. We really need to come forward. And the good news is we are planning to launch a website which is going to have all kinds of relevant resources for care leavers globally, including research, legislations, good practices. Delia talked about why everyone must experiment and learn on the job. There is so many good practices available. Learn from there. So this website hopefully will have all those kind of resources that anybody who's wanting to do anything in care leaving will be able to get to it and get information, knowledge, even solicit support. I think that's our dream. And probably you will see a sample of it in the closer session of the convention, which is happening on the 11th of December. So I think I would just like to stop here by saying Global Care Leavers Network. Secondly, Global Care Leavers Network taking on the next International Care Leavers Convention in 2022. And the third, this repository, this website, which is really going to open up many, many doors. These are our dreams, and I need each one of you to help us the way you have helped us in making this conference a success. Thank you so much.
Wow, what to say after Dr. Kiran Modi? It's so inspirational that leaves everyone, I think, speechless. And thank you for all these things that you are doing. So I hope everybody knows now that website will be launched and it will be global. Please do check it out and do follow. I think a lot of things Dr. Kiran already said will be there not only for care leavers but also for policymakers, practitioners, and so we don't need to reinvent the wheel, as Delia said, again, but learn from each other. Thank you all, and at the end I can only say, Nimu, Ruth, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know what to add, Dr. Kiran. You're so inspirational, and we just appreciate you for, all of you for just giving us this platform and being able to speak and hear the commitments and how passionate you are to seeing that we do something. I just want to welcome Dr. Severin to say something, and then we'll be wrapping up in the next few. Severin Thomas, are you there? Can you hear me? As she comes, yes. Okay, yeah. Are you there?
I hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
You are on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Excuse me, I can't hear you for the moment. I don't know why.
Maybe no one is talking.
Oh, sorry.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, Severin, we can hear you.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
See
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Now I have a technical problem here. Can you go on, please?
Yes, thank you so much. So as she's fixing that, I just want to say a 3 minutes story. So in one day, there's a gathering and there's a young boy who's seated to 2 elderly people, and the boy cries. And one elderly woman asks, "Do you need some water?" And the boy does not respond. So the woman goes ahead, picks a bottle of water and brings to the boy. The boy is still crying. The next person says, "I think I have some snacks with me," and they hand over the snacks to the boy. The boy picks and then drops and continues crying. And the MC in the event could hear the cry and is wondering what the boy really needs. And one person at the conference or the gathering says, "Give him the microphone." The boy picks the microphone and says, "I want to recite a poem." And he goes at the podium and recites a poem. What am I saying today? For a long time, we have thought what caregivers need. We think sometimes they need snacks, sometimes they need a bottle of water, and all they need is a microphone. That it's important for us to hand over that microphone to amplify their own voices. I am saying this because I appreciate that you can come here today and talk about what caregivers need from the caregivers themselves. I want us to appreciate 3 things: the presence of a microphone, the opportunity to attend the gathering, and the chance for someone to ask someone to hand the microphone over. I am asking that we can commit towards providing opportunities for caregivers, and not just do that, but support them in the process. I'm just looking at some of the things that we asked people to do in the takeaways, and it's impressive to see that the participants have added to some of this. And one person says, "I am wondering why there is not an international day of caregivers supported by the UN and a fund that caregivers networks can have access to." Why? Because caregivers networks should not lag behind organizations. What am I saying? Let us enable this boy to come forward, have the microphone, and perhaps recite a poem, sing a song, and say what next they need. I don't know what to do about this, but I'm just lodging in this as a recommendation and a key recommendation for our people here, that perhaps Dr. Delia and the rest, is it possible that we have an International Day of Caregivers recognized by the UN and a fund for that? That's where you're going to support caregivers. We're going to give them the microphone and they're going to lead the process. There's so many other recommendations, very amazing. And thank you so much, participants, that you're continuing to add. Please feel free to continue adding this. And I'm saying this because I want to bring over Serena. I just hope that she has sorted out her technical issues. And then we'll be wrapping up. Welcome again.
Yes, thank you, Ruth. Maybe I could ask some sentences. I had some problems here with my computer. Yes, I think you said the most. I would like to say, and I think it's important that you have the last words here. I would like to thank everybody for joining this very important event. And I think the main message I take with me, and I hope all the others also, that we will not stop today, that we created a big movement, and we will go on further with the big ideas we shared here. And we got so many insights in different countries, how living care is taking place. There, Kiran told us how the situation in India is and in other Asian countries. And we heard so many personal stories and became impressed about the courage and the strong personalities we met during the preparation of this event and the convention in itself. And I think we should make these people more strong by events like this and by all the things we should bring on further in the national contexts. And I think we became many insights in your hearts, and I bow to all of you. And we'll let you know that we will not stop now, not the University of Hildesheim and not all the partners who made this big conference, SOS, Children's Villages, Udayan Care and Kinderperspektiv. I think a lot of new networks will come up now after this convention. And I'm sure no child should suffer from being in care, and nobody should suffer from being a caregiver. And with this message, I think I will come to the end of my words and have to do 2 announcements, and then I will give back the word to Ruth. I should inform you of the convention organizing team that there will be a post-convention on the 11th of December. You find further information on the website, and also a link to a Padlet where you can find takeaways which you can take to other people you know in your professional networks or to other caregivers, and could add comments. Please be invited to share ideas and points which we missed to fix in this Padlet. So thanks to you all, and yes, my last message is we will not stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are almost coming to the end of our conference. I have mixed feelings. One, I'm excited, but I'm so sad that this is coming to an end. But I am so stoked and energized to see what is going to happen after this. And I just want to brief you a little bit of what we are going to expect. There's a feedback form that we request you fill in. We are going to share. And also we are also reconvening again to hold the cafe session in our Americas colleagues, with our Americans colleagues, you know, because of time, we needed to make sure that we are all inclusive. One of the things that we keep talking about sustainable development goals is that we talk about so much on inclusivity, and we had to make sure that we don't leave anyone out. And so we're going to have this, and you're also invited to come back on 11th December for a full closure on this convention. The session is about collective promises that we'll make to make our 2022 agenda a reality, especially in policy, practice, and participation. So we have policymakers from several countries before whom we present our Charter of Demands, and we'll tell them loud and clear how serious we are to see that the lives of caregivers change. So from today till the 10th of December, we will open our proposed agenda 2022 for comments and voting from all caregivers across the world. And then we'll come back on the 11th December for a 2 hours interface with decision makers and experts, and seek clear commitments to strengthen us in the collective belief. What am I saying? I'm just saying we are not done. We're just getting started. Yeah. And I'm seeking your commitments and your presence to come back and be with us until we make, you know, the lives of caregivers dignified. Yesterday, in an activity, we asked people who were from all families. They grew up in families, and we asked them something, an exercise. And the question was, at what age did you feel that you did not need your family? That is one. And the second is, at what age did you leave your family to go live by yourself? And one person said, who was a senior person in the government, raised the hand and said, "Hi, Ruth, I don't understand why I should even answer your question, because culturally, we never leave our families. We even have extended families. And I don't get your question, what do you mean?" And the rest of the participants were laughing. And one of the things that occurred to me is that many times we have an oversight for the need of a family, because every now and then and every year, children are aging out of institutions. But like this participant said, he cannot even think at what point they never needed a family. They have always needed a family. And this is a 65-year-old guy. What am I saying? That we are going to commit to have inclusive societies where children will no longer need to age out of institutions, but we are giving them a chance to have a family for life. Whether you're 80, whether you're 50, whether you're 20, you have your family to grow up in. I am bringing Nemo to just close this session and just to say thank you from Kenya Society of Caregivers to the world. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you also for all the caregivers from Kenya who joined. We have over 20 of them. So for that opportunity and having the digital access, once again, appreciated. Karibu sana Nemo, welcome.
Yeah, I think that you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm not feeling leave you all and also cut this link. After listening to you all, I just feel like to stay here. If we have one more day, that will be fine, no? I feel like that also. And also, this may call, I think that heart-to-heart connection. If I say this in Lina's word, Dilshe Rista. If it's on my word, it's Hadavate Badiman. So we are the caregivers, global family now. So unforgettable and not looking back from here. Thank you all for all your support, participation, and encouragement. We stand united today forever. Nothing for us without us is our last words. Thank you all from my heart. Goodbye all and keep touch with us. Lots love and goodbye to you all. Thank you for the organizing this and thank you all.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well, is there a selfie moment before everyone goes?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Who's
Actually,
holding the
don't
camera?
feel like leaving. You know, you are right. Ruth and Nimu and all the caregivers, I mean, Fabian and Neelam and Karishma, all of you were just so good. It's absolutely amazing, amazing, really.
Thank you
See you
so
all
much.
very
I don't think
soon.
we would achieve anything without your support.
All of us need each other. You know?
Definitely, I felt it today.
Yeah.
Kiran, you are also amazing. It's great to hear you. So fighting and so powerful.
You people are so amazing. You know, I've been University of Hildesheim to how many universities in India, that how you people are working. I mean, they should be doing extra things along with academia, not just be involved in research, because then it becomes just a piece of paper. You need to know what is happening in the world. So I really hope universities in India also take, you know, a charge. Some of them are doing it, like TIS and Delhi University. There are, you know, very good courses and they are running programs as well. But care leaving as such has not caught on. I think now it will. Yeah. Okay, bye. See you soon, very soon. We have to get back, you know, to do the debriefing and talk about the next steps. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
I'm hugging every one of you. Social distance hugs.
Oh, I know. Oh, Martini, how are you?
We're very well. Oh, see you all. I'm coming to India, literally.
You really need
I
to.
just have to come to
You
India.
will come. You will come. We
Okay.
will make
See
something.
you later.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.